is Narelle from Sew Society. This is knit tips number 7, inserting sleeves. We're up to getting towards the final stages of constructing our top, and after the sleeves today, the next issue will be hemming, and that will be the end of this series. Now, to cut your sleeves out, just follow the instructions on your pattern of choice, whether it's a commercial pattern or a pattern that you have drafted for yourself. I am using a commercial pattern, and it's important that when you cut out your fabrics that you transfer the markings from your pattern. You can see that there's 2 notches there, a mark there at the center top of the sleeve, and then there's another one over here on the front of the sleeve. You'll notice that on most commercial patterns they have 1 notch on the front of the sleeve. There's a part of the sleeve that goes to the front of your blouse, and the double notches are for the go towards the back of your sleeve. So it's important to mark your sleeve and your garments to make sure that you don't get your sleeves around the wrong way, because you'll get a very bad fit and very uncomfortable sleeve. And the other important mark as well is the mark there at the center top of the sleeve, which is going to match up to the shoulder seam of your blouse. Okay, this was a 7/8 sleeve pattern that I used, and I've just folded the pattern up shorter, and so it's turning into a short sleeve. Okay, you've cut out your front and your back and your 2 sleeves. You've marked them with the sellotape with the black marker on back, front, etc. Then you need to sew up your shoulder seams, and I also finished off the neck facing as well, the neck trim as well. I used similar to a Chanel trim, but I didn't leave the rolled edge like we did last week. I put it on like a facing. So it's basically just a strip of fabric cut across the width of the material, same width, I think it was 5 centimeters that we did. Stitched it on, slightly stretched it around the back, and then I folded it over, and then this time I did a wider stitching line, which gives it like a facing effect. I didn't worry about putting any iron-on interfacing on the back of it. After I stitched it down there with that row of top stitching, turn it back over, and with your little scissors, just like your Chanel trim, you trim away your excess fabric. So I've done all that. I have prepared the sleeve. I have put the pin at the top of the sleeve at the shoulder seam line there. Then the next pin you put in is at the other end of your sleeve edge there, which is at the top of the side seam, and then you put your 3rd pin over on the opposite end. So that's how you start off, 1, 2, 3 anchor pins, and then just go back and with the sleeve on the top, right sides together, just match up those raw edges and ease the fabric in. If it doesn't quite fit in, there's a little bit of gappiness in the fabric, don't worry, because as we go through and stitch this, we're going to just stretch it ever so slightly, and then it'll all come together. So it's all pinned in now. We've got the right sides of the sleeves together. So I'm going to put it onto the machine, and we're just going to do a 6mm or 1/4 inch seam allowance, because that's what this commercial pattern allows for on the pattern that I'm using. Okay, get anchor stitches, and then we just have to keep the 2 raw edges together of the sleeve edge and the armhole edge. So I'll just quickly go ahead and do that now. I'm just stretching it a little bit there, just ever so slightly, because the edges are just slightly different lengths. Just pulling that out there to match up those. We're going around the curve there, so it's just have to take my time. Take your pins out as you go. just at the shoulder seam now. Keep making sure that you haven't got your garment in the way of the machine. You don't want to get that caught. So keep making your way around. Just about at the other underarm point now. Take this pin out. There we go, last 2 pins. And that's how easy it is to put a sleeve in using stretch fabric. Anchor it off there, cut the thread, lift the foot. Take away the tape. And you can, if you wish, come back and overlock those 2 edges together, or zigzag, or do another row of stitching if you feel like you'd like to make it a little bit stronger. But you can see I'm stretching that, and the stitches aren't popping. Okay, now we'll just turn the garment so that we're now ready to do the side seams. I'll pin that there. Okay, so we're now going to go from the hem all the way up to the underarm there, and continue all the way through to the hem of your sleeve. So there's your sleeve. If I just open it up a little bit better. There we are. So that's just 1 row of straight stitch, and can, again, if you wish, you can overlock it or serger it, but it doesn't really need it. Then next week, on the next episode, we'll talk about hems, a hem on the bottom of your blouse. I want to show you another hemming method for your sleeve. Now, you need to refer to your notes. I've gone into a lot of detail putting it there onto the note sheet. What you're going to do before you do this row of stitching here on the underarm of the sleeve, oops, you can't see there. Before you do this row of stitching, open out your sleeve so it's nice and flat. Then you're going to mark. I used the felt pen, the erasable one, and the measuring gauge. And measuring up from the bottom hem of your sleeve, you're going to mark 3 centimetres and then another 3 centimetres. I'll just have a look up and see how much 3 centimetres is. Hold on a moment, I'll just check that. 1 1/4 inches. So that's 3 centimetres, do a line, or 1 1/4 inches, up another 3 centimetres or 1 1/4 inches, and mark another line. Rule it all the way across from one underarm edge of the sleeve all the way across to the other. Then go to your ironing board and press it once on that line using your steam, and you're pressing. Don't iron it backwards and forwards. Press, lift, always like that on a stretch fabric. After you've done that first one, turn it up a second time and press it again. Detailed instructions are in the written notes. It'll be attached to the Facebook page. Alright, then after you've done that, open up, when the fabric's cool, don't do it while it's still hot. Wait till your fabric cools, let the steam get out of your fabric. Then stitch your underarm seam. This is just a sample here. You would have this then into your garment. What you would do is, after you press those creases, you would stitch your sleeve into the garment along the seam line there, and then in the steps that we've just done on the navy one, you then would do the side seam from the hem of the garment all the way through to the end of the sleeve here. But as this is just a sample, I've only just got the sleeve here to show you. Now what you're going to do after you've done the underarm seam, this one, you're going to fold it up on that first crease line, turning it to the inside, and then fold it up a second time. That's why you've got those crease marks. You've got 2 lots there, so you're going to be doing it twice. Make sure the fabric is all nice and flat inside that fold, and we'll just do a quick run around on the machine. And I just use the width of the foot as a gauge. Right. Now I'm doing it in navy just so you can see, but if I was doing this for myself or a garment that I would be wearing, I'd be using matching thread. Unless of course you want to use it as a feature of the top stitching. Right, so we're just going to go around the width of the foot from that bottom fold. What you're doing is, because we're folded up twice, you're catching the raw edge of the first fold inside there, inside this seam, so that when we're finished and we unfold it, there'll be no raw edge visible. It's a bit like one of those pillowcases that you do this way. Now we're back to the start, and you would normally end that off, but because I'll be just using this as a sample, we're not going to worry. Okay, so fold that out where you've just done that stitching, and you can see that all the raw edge is caught within that seam line, and we'll turn it around to the right side so you can see what it's going to look like. That piece that you just stitched, it comes up, then you take it over to the ironing board and you press that flat as well all the way around. So that's a nice, easy, tailored cuff that you can put onto your sleeve. That's one variation of the hemming. Now the only thing I need to remind you of is if you do want to do this sort of hem on your sleeve, make sure you allow the extra fabric for it to come up.